Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Here we are. Here we are. Woo! All right. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to go to the other screen and set all this up. Create another event. Oh, I'm creating this event. Give me a second. There we go. It's coming. There we are. There we are. Okay. Click that. And click that. And click that. And I think we're good to go. Oh my goodness. Is everybody here? Alrighty then. So, action is too low. FPS. Sorry. I will only do that once. All right. Good morning. For some reason, the camera looks really close to me today. And I'm not sure if that's what it's looking like to you. I am ready for my close-up, but I'm not ready for the close-up where you can, count the hairs on the end of my nose. So, I have stuff to talk about today that's a little different, I guess, from the usual stuff I have to talk about. And, oh, good morning. Good morning, Charles. You have your coffee in hand and you're ready. Good for you. Hang on a second here. Yay, Charles. Okay. Charles is leading the pack in the pivot planning, and it's very exciting to watch his adventure unfold. I can't believe I just took off Mom's glove. Hang on, I'm obviously not focused here. Too soon. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Mom. Hello, dear. Hello, hello. All right, so here's the thing that happened. I had someone say something to me that is kind of a trigger. What they said was, why can't you just be more like other people? And that used to really bother me. Because I work full-time at being me, really. It's like being somebody else would be a part-time job, and I can't imagine how that would ever really work out that well. Good morning, Lyle. It's how nice to hear from you and see from you. So that really set me on a path. And just before I posted this live, I put up a picture of me when I was a blonde and I was appearing in a stage show. And the reason that I chose that picture today is because that's exactly not only what that show was about, but the hurdle I had to overcome in order to get the role. It was all about, why can't you be more like somebody else? And so I want to talk about that today, because I want to talk about the difference that we together, I'm leading the dance, but it's really your dance, how we are discussing what it means to pivot, what it means to take a look at a situation and say, I can probably handle that better like this, as opposed to like that, right? That's really what pivoting is about. And it sounds like I'm minimizing the challenge of it, but really, as soon as you know that you do this, that you are this and you are equally that, you say to yourself, well, why am I making such a big deal about it? Exactly. So I'm just going to click on the hello from Lyle. Wonderful. Because there's a lot of stuff going on, and the ripple effect is going to take us a while. It really is. And it's not because we're slow, and it's not because we can't grasp what's going on. It's none of that. The challenge is that ripples take a long time to subside. It's good morning, Steve. Ripples, when you're, say, at a cottage on a lake, and some lunatic goes by, you're in some sort of a paddle boat, or you're in one of those party boats, whatever, and you're just kind of strolling along, floating along with the breeze, and some lunatic in one of those go fast boats goes by, and then you can count like 3, 2, 1, and then it's this, and then you think, okay, so oh no, there's more of it, and then all those ripples go to the shore, and then they come back, and it's this way, and they come back there, and you just want that person who did that to, pay attention and be a little more, cooperative, civilized, considerate? Considerate, there's a word. Okay, and they won't. And we can spend our whole lives saying, what's wrong with those people? That doesn't help. What we can do is recognize, remember what it's like when the boat, oh no. Okay, so bend your legs at the knees and ride the wave. Ride the wave. While you're riding the wave, you're not taking care of all your stuff. You had to put your stuff on hold. That's why we get upset. We were interrupted by someone inconsiderate. We have to manage the waves. We have to comply to all of that. I'm saying pivoting is knowing that we're going to go out on the boat, knowing when those guys get in there go fast, and choose our time. Choose our time. Go earlier or go later, or go from the other direction. Choose our time. Do it our way. Be us, 100%. Pick the us that owns it. That, to me, is pivoting. That. And I have been having the most extraordinary conversations with these wonderful people who have said, I think I might be a pivot master. Can I have a chat with you? And they are. They are. They sense it. They sense that they have long ago and far away hit some kind of wall and said, okay, so that hurts. And they figured out how to shift, avoid, and carry on, being their best version of themselves for that moment, in that moment, and then pivot and do something else. That's what I think pivoting is. And as I said, in the last couple of days, I've had some conversations that have puzzled me because people have been so anxious about it, uncertain about it. And I suddenly realized that what they're hearing, what they're feeling, Karen, I'm more Navy. I roll with it. Well, sure, of course you do, but not before. Now you roll with it. So what we are listening to when we get that anxious feeling in our stomachs and a little, verklempt, is we're hearing the voice of some authority figure telling us, hang on a second, I'm just going to delete whatever that is. I don't know who that fellow is. Delete that. What an odd thing for someone to do. I'm on the comments thing, and somebody just posted a remarkably irrelevant thing. Unless that's any attention is good attention, I don't know. So here's what we hear in our heads. We hear the voice of someone in charge scaring us, telling us that if we don't eat our this, or if we don't go to bed by that, or if we don't do this, or we don't do that. And then they impose upon us some kind of mythic disaster. They indicate by their tone, well, good morning, Melissa. How lovely to hear and see you. When we panic, when we're trying to own ourselves, own our moment. The reason we panic is we have this little moment, a little flashback, that someone who was in charge in the long ago and far away basically told us that if we did that, we would pay. And we never quite forget that, because that's that cave brain, that's that primal brain that is keeping us alive. It's keeping our eyes blinking and our hearts beating and all the other good stuff going on. That's the brain that remembers fight or flight, fear, hide, freeze, comply. Those are that brain's rules and reactions. Yes, Melissa, I miss you too. I miss you too, sweetie. Every opportunity we have to feel that, it's a trigger. It should also be a curiosity button. If we can shift it from anger, frustration, all of those, to, where's that coming from? What is that for? And if we can pull back, if we can put on our Sherlock Holmes person hat and say, how odd. Let me look into that. Maybe not right now, while the boat is filling with water. Maybe not right now. But later, let me put that on hold in my to-do in a minute file and figure out what that's from. And over and over and over again, if we do that, good morning, Phil, howdy. If we do that, if we take that time, each of those triggers get smaller, and they get to be just memories that we're aware of, as opposed to memories that are whispering in our ear that we can't see or hear or really understand. And Charles has just said, what I'm doing right now is fight or flight, more fighting to win. And I get it. I got it. I know where you're coming from. And I'm going to delve into that in a second. What we want you to do is we want you to pivot and flex and lean in and lean out, let all that stuff go by. Think of those old wonderful cartoons where Bugs Bunny would open the front door and the back door, and whatever madness that Yosemite Sam was up to would just ride on through, or some devil, this dervish, would just through, and then he'd close the door and carry on. I forever influenced by Bugs Bunny. I feel that if we can get away from that whole trigger thing, we aren't interrupted. We are living our lives. Garen made a very interesting point. He pushes other people's buttons to see what happens. Yes, and what you're doing is you're assessing the battlefield. The thing is that while you're pushing their buttons, you're not operating yours. You're working on them. And okay, but that's them. You're you, and you're awesome. We don't even know them. I'm sure they're lovely people too, but right now we're working on us. So this whole idea to pivot is not to get faster at getting even. It's not to outthink the other guy. Really, the other people are over there. Pivoting is to look at our opportunity and bring the best us to the table. Back when we were doing You Can't Do That on Television, that was a pivot moment. I had never played a mother. I had never surrounded myself intentionally with children because I didn't really know how to do that well. I'm an only child, and I was the only one, and everybody else was tall, so I didn't really ever work with people smaller, and it was an odd shift for me. When I became Valerie Prevert, I chose the name Valerie. I also chose the name Lance, and I took on a job that everyone expected me to be, trying to be as good as the previous actors. And I had a long talk with the producer, and I said, I don't look like that actress. She's brilliant. I don't look like that. When she gets herself all made up, she's like a cartoon. She can get away with saying outrageous things and doing outrageous things with children, and like hit them with her purse. If I did that, it would look like the most awful thing that a human being could do, because I look real. Even as mom, I still look real. So let me do it my way. Let me sneak up on them and undermine their focus with my nonsense, and take them away from their agenda and have them work in mine. See, then I'm in control, even though it doesn't look like it. So the pivoting story and the pivoting situation that I want to talk about, because spring is happening and people are feeling a lot of things. They're excited because maybe whatever that was is over. Maybe this year it's going to be great. And then there's all these people who are feeling territorial, and they want to do their thing, and they're coming out of their little hidey holes and wondering what's going on, and then suddenly remembering they never liked that guy, and they're going to go and talk about that. Okay, those are the old rules, and those are the old styles. And so what I am hoping we do in the moving forward, and in the I did a wonderful mom. Thank you, Charles. I did someone, we're not quite sure who. As we take on this new season, as we take on warmer temperatures and bluer skies and greener grass, and we take off the heavy jackets and the clunky boots, and we can start feeling like ourselves and wonder what happened to all our clothes that shrank, we have this opportunity to say, let's just draw the starting line here. Let's just do that here, or maybe just a few steps here. And here's the story. While I was doing You Can't Do That, I guess it was in the second year, and I had hit my stride, and we were having a wonderful time. I think for my feeling, 82, 83, and 84 were insanely brilliant, fabulous years on You Can't Do That on television. I was coming into my own. The kids were crazy. The writing was awesome. The coaching was brilliant. I mean, everything. It was just one of those things. I got an opportunity to audition for a stage show. And what I loved about the stage show was that she was and it was the lead role. She was an entirely different kind of person from anything I had played. And the show is called Born Yesterday. It was written by Garson Kanin, who was a wonderful, wonderful playwright. And the lead character was a woman named Billy Dawn. And
Billy Dawn was a platinum blonde from Chicago. And her boyfriend was Harry, and he was a gangster. He was a very successful gangster. And Billy Dawn used to say to people that she could have been in show business probably if she'd have stuck to it. But see, Harry, he likes to be in bed by 8:30.
So that was Billy. And I loved Billy. I loved the accent. I loved the idea that I would be a platinum blonde. I just loved her.
I'm walking here.
She was amazing. And she's fluffy and ridiculous, and she was a showgirl. And ironically, in the play, Born Yesterday.
Why, you think I'm born yesterday?
Born Yesterday was the story of Billy's awakening. She was born yesterday and stepped into her own today. Really, that's the spoiler alert. That's the trajectory of her beautiful, beautiful arc. And it is someone who says, why are you doing that? Why are you behaving that way when you're so smart and you're so this, and you should read books? And
Harry don't like me reading books.
so she was complying. She was fitting in with the gangster's
Compliant, pretty, empty-headed.
girlfriend. That was her role. And she took that role in her life because Harry was in charge. Harry was the alpha. Harry was all-powerful. He was a gangster. And he was ruthless. Not with her, but with everybody else.
And she kind of liked the idea that everybody was afraid of Harry because, well, he's my boyfriend.
All of a sudden she realized that she could be her own woman. She didn't need a Harry to validate her. She was always going to be
The blonde with the voice.
always, because that's who she was. But she didn't have to pretend to be dumb in order to win. She could own who she was. Maybe not with Harry, but who knows? Maybe she had a future in show business. Maybe she had a future as a producer. Maybe she had a producer's hat she could wear. Maybe she could finally be the boss. One never knew what was possible for her. So I loved the play. Did I want to play it? Yes. So then I discovered that the person directing the show was an arch nemesis of mine who didn't approve of me because I was far too me and not nearly enough anybody else, Abby, really. And so I went down to audition, and she said, well, Abby, you can't do the part. It requires a blonde, Abby. It requires someone who understands the role. Okay, so I went home, and I bleached my hair. Platinum blonde. Cut it off. Ding, ding, ding. And I showed up at the next audition. And she was suitably horrified. She was almost speechless. What have you done? And I said,
I'm here to read for the part. I actually have it memorized.
She was so mad. Oh my God. And I got the part. I didn't get the part right away. She didn't have an epiphany. She said, well, I have a lot of other people. Abby, I have a lot of other people to read. I have a lot of people, There's a lot of people more talented than you who are reading for this part. Okay, so I went away and I went back to CJOH, the TV studio, and I went to work. And days passed and days passed and weeks passed. And I thought, that's odd. And I was calling people saying, what's going on? And they said, nobody knows, nobody knows. So one day the phone rings. Hello? This is before caller ID.
Abby,
It's Sybil. I've had a lot of trouble over you, over the past few weeks. I have auditioned everyone. I have put out calls everywhere. I've had many, many people reply to me that they can't, or they won't, or they shouldn't, or they wouldn't. And finally, I realized that we were getting too close to the wire, too close. So I had a meeting with everyone involved in the play to get their opinion on how difficult it would be to work with you. She really did. She called every single person to try to find any reason, please, not to hire me. And they all said, great, go for it, Abby will be fast. So I got the part.
I got the part.
Have you noticed that I really like to win? So, here's what happened. The whole way through the rehearsals, she directed me to do as many things as I possibly could, facing away from the audience, so that the audience couldn't see my face, and they would be forced to look at everybody else. The thing is, she's the star of the show. She's the leading role. Everybody everybody's gravitating to her. If I turn my back on the audience, everybody talking to me has to look away from the audience too. It's like the audience is sitting there thinking, what, is there another audience on the other side? Like, are we the cheap seats now? So, so I went along with it, and, people chatter, people always chatter. And I kept saying, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And on opening night, I reversed the blocking. I didn't change anything. I just didn't face the back. I faced the front, so that everybody else could do the right thing. Or I talked to this person, or I talked to that person. But I didn't turn my back on everybody, because that was counterproductive. That was this woman indulging her frustrations on the entire production. Really. She was going to force me to comply and make it work her way and ruin the show if she had to. That's what was going on. Easy to see. Everybody was saying, why is she doing that? We're not exactly friends. So, opening night, I said, I'm just going to turn around. So I did. It didn't change anything, except that somebody says a funny thing and I react, the audience laughs, because they can see that interchange. They can see the conversation. They can see what's supposed to be visible to them. It's not a radio play. At intermission, I'm downstairs changing, freshening my makeup. She comes down, comes and stands behind me, looks at me over my head in the mirror, puts her hands around my throat. Not tight. She wasn't going to kill me. She said, I know what you're doing, And I said, good. It makes two of us. And then I thought she was going to strike me. She just let her hands go, walked away. Because I'm going to be me. It may cost me, but the alternative is hell. Because you're always then chasing somebody else's version of how you should be and who you should be and why. And no one really knows you the way you do. No one knows what your dreams are. No one understands how hard you have worked to get yourself brave enough, to believe enough that this is going to work. No one ever knows that. Just you. So when somebody randomly, for nothing better to say, says, why do you always have to be so you? Like, why can't you just back off a little and be more like everybody else? I used to get upset. I used to think it was something I had to justify. And I would come up with all kinds of things. And I would get all worked up. And then I began to realize, and very recently, I haven't been wise for more than, what time is it? Oh, it's 20 minutes. I haven't been wise for 40 minutes. I've been wise very recently. I realized that if I invested my time in answering them, I wasn't doing me anymore. I was trying to get them to let me be me. Why would I do that? I don't need anyone's permission to be me. I need their permission if I'm going to be them, especially if they didn't know I was doing it. And I may have done that a time or two. So here's the thing that I want us to focus on as spring is springing and grass is rising and stuff is coming alive. We are so many people. We have so many brilliant, wonderful, creative facets within us. We're sparkling with all these different angles on the diamond that's us. Pivoting is how we lean, ready ourselves, and take it on, and relax. Pivoting at the end of the day is saying, oh, whew, well, did someone mention wine? Pivoting is being us as it feels right, as it feels good, as it feels powerful, as it feels fun. I had some amazing person the other day look at one of my photographs and say, see, I know how old you are. This is comment. See, I know how old you are. No, you don't. How do you look like that? And I said, Viking DNA. The Viking spirit is the spirit filled with curiosity, filled with determination, filled with excitement, wanting to know what's on the other side of the horizon. That's the Viking spirit. That's my Viking spirit. I'm not walking around like my tie is caught in the zipper of my pants, all glum. I want a life of joy. I want the best me for the moment, all the time. If I'm focused on what they think I should be, I'm neglecting me. And we've all neglected us. And now it's spring. The snow is melting. We can draw a line in the sand and say, okay, over there was where I neglected me. Here is where I'm in 100% all the time. This is my new me. This is my new normal. All this other stuff, it may be a challenge. Are we going to forget? Sure we are. Is somebody going to trigger us? Absolutely. Did somebody trigger me this morning? Of course they did. Did I allow it? Yes, well, sure I did. It was me. I said, and then I thought, oh, wait, no, I'm going to do this thing about... So, as these pivoting books are emerging, and I'm talking to people who are telling me the most extraordinary ahas they're having, because as they're thinking about what it means to pivot, they're saying, oh my God, well, I did that. I remember when I did that. Oh my God. Abby, I have to add something. And that is amazing. Because as soon as you know, oh, Jean, I do her voice. Jean, now Jean, have I, honestly, Jean. Hello, Jean, it's Sybil. Terrible, isn't it? Every time we deny ourselves the opportunity to celebrate that we got through something, every day when I cook something in the kitchen, and it looks remarkably like the picture in the recipe book, and then I taste it to make sure it's not just looks, I think, wow, wonder if I can do that twice. I'm living 100% when I do that. It feels brilliant. Why didn't I think of that sooner? I didn't live 100% for a long time, and I didn't know I wasn't. And every single person who triggers us leaves us a little scarred. And we can walk around blaming ourselves and shaming ourselves and guilting ourselves and wondering why we did that. And the wondering, why did I do that? And the reason you did it is because your cave brain that is operating quietly in the background where you can't even see is just taking care of you to the best of its ability. What we can do, what science has proven, is that we can rewire those triggers. We can stop rising to fight when there's really nothing to fight. We can stop complying in order to fit in. There's a whole section at the beginning of the Pivotry book, so cool to be writing this, where I'm talking about the reason we develop groupthink and why it works for us for a while, and then how it can take over and run our lives and leave us empty and walking around at pivotal points in our lives saying, is that all there is? And I never got to, I always wanted to, and I didn't. And now, as Shirley Valentine said, there was so much more that I had within me to live a bigger life. And I'd allowed myself to live such a small life, really. Because she complied. She gave in. She fitted in. And it wasn't her. She'd stopped being Shirley Valentine, and she'd become somebody else. A mere shadow, of a former self. When we know we've done it, when we can see why, that's the day we can begin to say, I don't need to comply. That sucks. That's not me. That's them. Good luck to it. That's the beginning. And it's like any new thing that we have to learn. We get gooder at it the more we try. What I realized when I was a kid, as a military kid, we'd go to a new place. And I would try to figure out how everybody does the dance, whatever the local dance is, how they fit in, what they do, what the cool things are, what the chic look is. And I'd be that close and we'd move again. So I'd bring all that to the next place and I'd do that and the next place would laugh me out of all existence. What is that? So I was always like a block behind everybody. One day, I can't remember which posting it was, and I suddenly noticed something. And maybe I was, just tired of feeling alone and different. But I noticed that everybody looked the same. Whatever it was they were wearing here, there was a sameness about them. They all laughed at the same jokes, they wore the same stuff, girls dated the same guys all played the same sports, they all punched each other on the shoulder in the same way. They all drove the same cars when they got old enough. They all, went to the same clubs. They all, lockstep living. And I thought, why would you do that? When we left Europe and we were in Florida and I got rushed by a sorority, and the big sales pitch was, you'll never be alone. You'll always have one of the sisters with you. And I thought, oh, go away. I don't need a team. I work alone. And I realized that lockstep living was something that had overtaken them. They didn't even know who they were. They were duplicates of everybody else. And I knew that wasn't me. I didn't understand why. I just knew it wasn't me. And when I came back to Canada, I was different. Because I'd been in Europe, for heaven's sakes. And I'd been in the States, for heaven's sakes. I'd been in Florida. I'd been asked out on dates by a Florida man. And so, that's a terrible thing. I apologize. But I I was different. And I thought to myself, but everybody's different. I'm just Abby different. That's Bob different, and that's John different, and that's Charles different. Why can't we do that? Why can't we celebrate how awesome we are? You know, when we all get in the boat and we're rowing, some of us are good at this and some of us are good at that, and I'm not going to be the one to climb up and haul down the sail, because heights, oh, you do that. Who's not afraid of heights? Good, you do it. That's what this is. Long ago and far away, I was coaching some very, very successful, wealthy people, vastly wealthy people, who had been brought together to rethink their corporation. And I was brought in to shake them up. And there I was, shaking them up. And I said, what we're looking for is individual brilliance, not group conformity. And the guy who had taken exception to me from the beginning said, I thought there was no I in team, lady. And I said, well, that's because there's two in idiot. And everybody else laughed. Everybody else laughed. He was not impressed. A team is not made up of clones. A team is made up of brilliant, innovative, individual thinkers who are all striving to row fast enough to get to Paris in time for Fashion Week. They're not giving up who they are to do it. They're bringing their best self to the game. Pivoting is not complying. Pivoting is choosing among our many the best version of us for this moment, right now. And then after that, we'll pivot again. So I've gone really long today. And I was going to say I'm sorry, but you know what? Not sorry. It's important. It's spring. And, not that I'm going to make a big thing about it, but in 10 days it's birthday month. And I may be a little annoying about it for a few days, like all of them. Because Aries. So it is our time to say, yes, I did that. And yes, I did wear that shirt. And yes, it made me look fat. And yes, I'm going to be burning that shirt this afternoon. And yes, I had reasons. And they may no longer serve me. They were probably great reasons at the time, given what I knew. The fact that I know more now means I get to have bigger and better and different reasons. I get to bring me to the table the best way I can, the best way I know how. I'll tell you something interesting. I just realized I can do this. I'll tell you something interesting. Charles is going through a lot of stuff. Charles is letting go of a lot of stuff. Charles has overcome a lot of stuff. We all have. All of us. Charles, though, kind of got a couple of gold stars there. And he's changing. He's becoming more pure essence of Charles every day. And that has an effect on his surroundings. Charles has become that fast boat. And he's making waves. They're behind him. He's focusing forward. He's got things to do, decisions to make, and a life to live on his terms. And the wake behind him The wake behind you, Charles, is why everyone else is upset. You didn't used to be like that. You used to be the guy who complies, the guy who does what others do. You've changed. You're you. And it's unsettling. It's unnerving to all the people who are still living lockstep lives. I like that phrase, don't you? Pivot moves and lockstep lives. That's pretty cool. We get to choose. Charles has chosen. I chose. Lots of us are choosing. Melissa chose. Darren chose. We all choose. And when we don't, we wish we had. Pivotry in Motion is going to be a collection that everyone needs, that everyone can read and say, that's me. Oh, wow, that's me. Even if it isn't the chapter about them, everyone's going to find something that reminds them. Melissa, I did. Yes, you did, baby. Yes, you did. And it feels so good after the immediate panic, fear. I'm going to change. Panic, 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 panic. Wait a minute. This is okay. All right. I'm walking here. I've changed. It's a whole arc. Poor cave brain. What? Oh, God. She's changing again. Change is growth. Change is awesome. Change makes us more awesome, or us, every day. It works. It aggravates the Sibyls of the world.
And that's a real shame, boys and girls. That's a real shame.
Oh, God, I'm an annoying winner. So, here's the deal. Oh, my God, I went long. I went really long. I guess I needed to. And maybe, if you're still with me, I guess you needed it too. How cool is that? Okay, so, on the back of the Fame book, there are all these people. There are all these people. There we are. There they are. All there. Blah, 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 blah. You know why they were chosen? Because they're different. Do you know why they got the jobs they got? Because they're different. You know who Christine McGlade does not look like? Anybody else on the show. That was done on purpose. That was done on purpose. You know why so many people who watch that show really loved it? Because everyone was different. And if everyone is different, it means that they are okay. Because they're different too. Cool show. Great idea. Alrighty then. An amazing thing happened last week. We went from 68 to 71 YouTube subscribers. Yes. Which means that 80 is only 9 away. So, here's an idea. Tell people. Say to people, you know, I can't even really explain what it is that Abby's doing. It's not dull. And the thing is, we're growing this. We're growing this for everybody. It's not just for me. You'll like it. We'll have something to talk about. We'll all have something to roll our eyes about. So sign up. Subscribe. Let's get it to 80. My birthday. Oh, did I mention that? Did I mention that it's birthday month? My birthday is the middle of April. April 16th. A day that will live on Wouldn't it be awesome if we had passed 80 subscribers by my birthday? It would be really incredible if we had 100 by my birthday. Just saying. There'd be a gift. All right. Meanwhile, please comment if you haven't. If you've been too busy laughing, please comment. And tell your friends about this ridiculous thing that I do on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, on Shoesday and Thursday mornings. And get them to drop by. I've done a thing, I started it last week, and I don't know if any of you noticed, if you are also watching the YouTube show. I was premiering the YouTube show at 7 p.m. because I thought that was, you've done your day and you've had your dinner and you can sit down. And a very, very good friend of mine pointed out that no, that's different viewing on YouTube, that a better time to get more people is at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. And so try that. So I did. So last week, I premiered the two shows last week at 5 o'clock. And it turned out to be correct. There were more people who watched, and that could also be because of you wonderful people saying, please watch her, or we'll never hear the end of it. So it's the show today that we're watching live, or you're tuning in a little later and watching. I'm also sharing on my other Facebook page, Abby Haggard Fame. I'm also sharing it on my Instagram, Abby Haggard. I'm sharing it on LinkedIn, and I'm sharing it on Twitter. So I'm trying to cover as many areas as I possibly can to figure out how this process works. I am the new kid on the block. So tell people, however you tell people. And I'll be back on Thursday with another amazing installment in pivoting and pivotry and the wonderful rewards when you fail to comply. Does that sound good? Okay. So here's the drill. You know the drill. Be good to you. It's spring. Any minute now, we won't have to wear boots. Yay! So be good to you. You are so, so worth it. Find the joy. Be good to the you, not to somebody else's you. Okay? And hug your loved ones. What they put up with. Boy. Thanks for watching. I so appreciate it. Bye for now.